Do you know what we're here for?
Equal parts. Oh my gosh.
Illegal.
Modern American history, with Harris and Trump deadlocked across several battleground states. In Pennsylvania, the state that could determine the election, a new CNN poll of polls shows the two candidates in a dead heat race with no clear leader. Let's turn now to CNN senior data reporter Harry Enton for a deeper dive on all of this. Harry, obviously the race on a razor's edge, and this new polling out of Pennsylvania, this new analysis, there's a lot to decipher there.
Oh, there's so much to decipher, Boris. I mean, I woke up at 4:30 this morning looking at all the polling data. I got no sleep. I was deep down in the spreadsheets. And here's the reason why. Look at this. We have gotten a bevy, a slew, a buffet of polling, whatever way you want to put it. Harris in Trump in Pennsylvania. This is the margin. Quinnipiac, you got 5 for Harris. How about the New York Times? You got 4 for Harris. Franklin and Marshall, 3. You notice we're coming down the line. Trump's doing a little bit better. How about the Washington Post? Just a 1-point lead for Harris, well within the margin of error. And Marist College, a tie.
Oh, no. Wow. That could be bad. Now, it's just Pennsylvania, and I would point out that all 5 of these polls have her either tied or winning by 5 points, which means she's net above tied, right? She's net winning, right? She's net positive in Pennsylvania, which we've seen. We've been looking at this race in Pennsylvania for a while now.
So the bottom line is, looking at this data, you see perhaps a slight lead for Harris, but then you work your way all the way back to your right side of the screen, and you get a tie. As you put it, my dear friend, very tight in the Keystone State.
You want to outlaw it? You want to outlaw cowboy hats in public? You know, I'm on, unless it's for a party, like a costume of some sort, like Halloween. Which is, yeah, I think I'm on board with that. I would amend it to one other thing. If you are actively riding a horse, you may also be wearing a cowboy hat, or at like a rodeo, right? Those are your 2 loopholes on this rule, okay? Actively riding a horse or at a rodeo. Otherwise, you're right. We've had enough. That's enough cowboy hats, thank you.
And how about this new fresh Michigan and Wisconsin polling that's come out over the last day?
Yeah, all right. So I gave you 5 polls here. That's a lot of numbers to digest. So let's kind of dive in. We're going to look at Michigan, we're going to look at Wisconsin, and we're going to look at Pennsylvania, and we're going to basically close it in on an average, right? Take it all together, package it up, nice bow on the top of it to make it easy. So this is the Great Lake battleground states. Michigan, +2 for Harris. Pennsylvania, you mentioned at the top, +2 for Harris. How about Wisconsin? +2 for Harris on average. The bottom line is, Boris, in these battleground states, it is so tight, no clear leader. Now, what does this mean for the electoral map? Because I think that is so important. You look at this and you say, okay, these numbers, what do these exactly mean? Let's talk about the race to 270 electoral votes, all right? Now, what I'm going to do in this situation is I'm going to say that the polling averages are right on. Now, they could be off by a little bit, and Trump could benefit from that and win with those polling averages the way they are. But let's just say the polling averages are right on. So we'll give Kamala Harris Wisconsin. We'll give her Michigan, and of course we'll give her what I think is the most important state in this election, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. If you give Kamala Harris all 3 of these states, even if she loses in Nevada, Arizona, Georgia, and North Carolina, here's the key number. In the race to 270, she would get to exactly 270 electoral votes. But if you just took one of these states away, Boris, she would fall below that margin. So that is why you led this off by saying it is the closest race in a generation. It has been that way nationally. And when you look at these battleground states, there's no other way to describe it, my dear friend, than too close to call.
There is also the possibility, Harry, with these razor-thin margins, that if she somehow loses that congressional district in Nebraska, that the one in Omaha, that one electoral vote, we could be thrust into a tie, and then it's up to the House of Representatives.
Yeah, he's totally right about that, which would be bonkers. It could happen. But fact is, this map is not including her winning either Nevada or Arizona, North Carolina or Georgia, states where in the last couple weeks Kamala Harris has had an edge at one point or another. Now that has fluctuated throughout this time, but especially in Nevada and Arizona, she's seemingly had more and more of a chance, and Georgia has been looking better and better. But let's get deeper into the weeds on this. All right, let's go 538. Look at some of these polls real quick, since they're so good at aggregating all this for us. To the polls. Who's ahead? In the national polls right now, it would appear Kamala Harris is ahead, 2.8 points. She was ahead 2.5 points back about 11 days ago at the time of the debate, which is essentially, I think, what we have been using, although we should look at all the data, because really, you go back here, Harris was tied with Trump back here on August 1st, while Kennedy was still in the race, and yet she's actually gained ground since he's dropped out. Because you see here, actually maybe not. She hasn't gained ground. No, Trump is actually. I take that back. She's gained ground since Kennedy was still in the race, but she's actually lost ground technically. In terms of the gap between her and Trump, her vote share has increased to 48%, but where was it? Yeah. But she actually was up on Trump by 1% more nationally before he got out of the race. You got to assume that at least some part of that had to do with him dropping out and endorsing Donald Trump. All right, let's look at the state polls. Start in Arizona. Ooh, still incredibly tight. Donald Trump still leading by 0.6 here in Arizona, but as you can see, it's genuinely changed, right? So back here, August 1st, right, Kennedy is still in the race. Donald Trump was up 2.5 points, 45.9 to 43.5. Now, I mean, 2 days ago, it was tied. I mean, that is wild. This has really changed. I mean, it did tied up back here too. I mean, it's been getting close, just so close in Arizona right now. It is really hard to say what way this is going to go there, which is why I say them automatically giving in these sorts of projections, I think, is maybe it's not unfair, but it's not painting the whole picture, right? So right now, Kamala's up by nearly a percentage point here in Nevada, 0.7 among all the polls. As you can see, both candidates have gained share of the vote since Kennedy dropped out with his 5.5 points. Back here in August, doesn't go back further. Why doesn't it go back further? Either way, back here it was only a 0.5 point margin. Up here, it's, still basically a 0.5 point margin. Depends on which way you want to round. So it's still a very tight race. But it would seem people are starting to make their decisions, right? Back here, you got people, we got 88% of the vote going to Harris and Trump at this point. Now we're talking about 94? You just watched Civil War. That was such an incredibly disappointing movie, at least me personally. What did you think? But not, yeah, God. I also watched that. Like a few months ago, I want to say. Around the time it came out, slightly after. What was I doing? Oh, right, the polls. Where are we? All right, let's go over here to Georgia. Georgia, it looks like Trump has regained some ground since the debate. Where's the debate? Here's the debate. Trump was up 0.8 back here. Now he's up a full point. Although, just a couple of days ago, he had faltered quite greatly in at least some polls. So some poll must have come out around here, suggesting Trump not doing as well as the rest of the polls. As you can see, even in Georgia, at least for the last month and a half, really the margin between Trump and Harris has not been beyond 1 percentage point. In fact, well, all right, the closest is like, all right, 1.2, but I'm not counting that. All right, let's go here. To, am I missing Michigan? All right, let's go to Michigan. Michigan. Now, Kamala Harris seems to be continuing to solidify her lead here in Michigan, 2.7 points ahead of Donald Trump right now, with nearly 50% of the vote. Back here in July, in the end of July, Trump was up. You know, Donald Trump was up 1% in Michigan. So she's reversed those numbers by nearly 4 points, which should be pretty indicative of what's probably going to happen here in Michigan, you would think, unless something drastic were to happen in the next 2 months. Not even 2 months. 50 days, I think, is now where we're at. What else do we need to look at? Oh, we should look at North Carolina, too. Alright, so right now, Harris is up by 1.4. Now, after the debate, she got all the way up to 1.9 at one point, just on average, the 18th there. As you can see back here on the day of the debate, she was only up 0.5 percentage point, so 1.5 is an increase for sure. It's a 200% increase technically. So that's definitely showing that her debate performance helped her a little bit, although she has been up further at some points during this race. But if you look all the way back here to the beginning of August, she was only up 0.1 points. So she has been making slow but determined sort of gains here, it would seem. Skipped over North Carolina. Let's go back down here. This is a dead tie right now. Look at this. 0.2 between Trump and Harris. At one point, 2 days ago, Harris was in the lead. Wow. Actually, multiple times since the debate has happened, it's either broken even or she's gone in the lead. Back here, in early August, Trump was up 1 point. But it's like these states that we keep talking about potentially, like sort of just giving to the Republicans, like we see Harry doing on these electoral maps, are not they are not set in stone for Donald Trump in any way. Now, things in Wisconsin have, for whatever reason, gone slightly awry for Kamala Harris, as she's lost a whole point over the last few days, seemingly. Back here on the 10th, she was up 2.4 points, and is now only 1.7 points, but had climbed at least for the week after it. So there's something must have happened in Wisconsin. Maybe the thing that comes to mind is like an ad buy from the Trump campaign, perhaps. But that's just pure speculation. Okay, I think that's all we really need to do on polls. Hold on, I need to hydrate myself. Ooh. Well, you made it to the end of the video. Might be thinking to yourself, I should go find something else to watch. But before you hastily go off and do such a thing, I really recommend you subscribe to this channel. And don't forget that little bell icon as well, otherwise you will never know when all the galactic news is happening.